All right, so we are on to our last cognitive service, and this one is going to be Luis or Luis, depending on how you like to say it. It's LUIS, which is language understanding. So you type in luis.ai, and that's going to bring us up to this external website. It's still part of Azure, just it has its own domain. And so here we'll choose our subscription, and we have no authoring source, so I guess we'll have to go ahead and create one ourselves. So go down here and we'll choose my cognitive services, Azure resource name. So my auth service or my cognitive service. Create new cognitive service account. But we already have one, so I don't want to make another one, right? It should show up here, right? Are valid in the authoring region. So it's possible that we're just in the incorrect region. So we might end up creating two of these, and that's totally fine. I don't care. It's as long as we get this working here, because we're going to delete everything at the end anyway. And so just say my cog service 2, and we'll say West US, because I think that maybe we didn't choose one of these regions. Let's go double check. If we go back to our portal, just the limitations of the service, right? So we'll go to my cog services here. I just want to go cognitive services. So just want to see where this is deployed. And this is in West US. Yeah, so I don't know why it's not shown up there, but whatever. If that's what it wants, we'll give it what it wants, okay? Shouldn't give us that much trouble, but hey, that's how it goes. And so we have an authoring service. I'm going to refresh here and see if it added a second one. It didn't. So, all right. That's fine. So we'll just say my sample bot. We'll use English as our culture. If nothing shows up here, don't worry. You can choose it later on. I remember the first time I did this, it didn't show up. And so now we have my cog service, my custom vision service. We want cog service. So anyway, it tells you just about schema, like how you make a schema and animates, talking about like bot action intent and example utterance. But we're just going to set up something very simple here. So we're going to create our intent. The one that we always see is flight booking. So I'll go here and do that. And what we want to do is write an underline. So like book me a flight to Toronto. Okay. And so if someone were to type that in, then the idea is it would return back the intent, this value and metadata around it, and we could pragmatically provide code, right? So what we need is identities, and we can actually just click here and make one here. So enter named identity, and we'll just call this location. Okay. Here we have an option machine learned and list. If you flip between it, this is like, imagine you have a ticket order and you have these values that can change. Or you just have a value that always stays the same, like list. So that's our airport. That makes sense. We'll do that. If we go over to entities, we can see it here. All right, so nothing super exciting there. But what I want to show you is if we go ahead and we should probably add flight booking. Should be, how about book flight? Flight booking. Flight booking. Okay, so we'll go ahead, and I know there's only one, but we'll go ahead and train our model. Because we don't need to know tons, right? We covered a lot in the lecture content. To build a complex bot is more for the associate level. But now what we can do is go ahead and test this, and we'll say, book me a flight to Seattle. Okay, and notice here it says book flight. We can go inspect it, and we get some additional data. So top scoring, so it says how likely that was the intent. Okay, so you get kind of an idea there. There's additional things here. It doesn't really matter. We'll go back here, and we will go ahead and publish our model. So we can put it into a production slot. You can see we have sentiment analysis, speech priming. We don't care about either of those things. We can go and see where our endpoint is. And so now we have an endpoint that we can work with. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all you really need to learn about Luis. But I think we're all done for cognitive services. So we're going to keep around our notebook because we're going to still use our Jupyter notebook for some other things. But what I want you to do is make your way over to your resource groups, because if you've been pretty clean, it's all within here. We'll just take a look here. So we have our Q&A, all of our stuff here. I'm just making sure it's all there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this resource group, and that should wipe away everything, okay? For the cognitive services part. All right, so we're all good here. And I'm just going to go off, and I'll leave this open because it's always a pain to get back to it and reopen it. But let's make our way back to the home here in the Azure Machine Learning Studio. And now we can actually explore building out machine learning pipelines.